Now, there are some things you should never do in life, like get a swastika tattoo in Germany, insult football in Brazil, or tell a South Asian not to drink tea. That's a big no around here. Having a cup of tea is like your birthright in South Asia. But soon there could be one exception, and that's Pakistan. Their government wants people to cut down on tea. The appeal came from Ehsan Iqbal, Pakistan's Minister for Planning and Development. Listen to this.
मैं ये भी कौम से अपील करूंगा कि हम चाय की एक एक प्याली दो प्यालियां कम कर दें, क्योंकि जो चाय हम इंपोर्ट करते हैं वो भी हम उधार लेकर इंपोर्ट करते हैं.
Everyone loves a good cutting chai. Mumbai, they say, makes the best one. But Pakistan has taken it quite literally. They're actually cutting chai. The question is why? Why touch something that is so close to people's hearts? Because they cannot afford it. In 2020, Pakistan was the largest importer of tea. Their total purchases around $640 million. Pakistan simply cannot afford to spend that kind of money on tea. Their foreign exchange reserves are falling every month. In February, they held reserves worth $16 billion. By the month of May, that fell to $10 billion. How long will these reserves last? Barely enough to cover 2 months of imports. So Pakistan needs to spend every dollar wisely, and apparently tea does not make the cut. Will this policy make any difference in Pakistan? It seems highly unlikely. For starters, how can the government possibly monitor this? People drink tea at their home, at restaurants. You cannot track the intake of 220 million people. The only hope is if people cut down themselves, and that is near impossible in a country like Pakistan. So cutting down tea is a gimmick. While the leaders load up on their favorite drink, the people are being asked to cut down. How convenient is that? What Pakistan needs are sensible policies, and they need them fast because the country is now facing another major challenge: power cuts. Russia's war has created an energy crisis around the world, even here in India. But the situation in Pakistan is even more precarious. First, the numbers. How much electricity is Pakistan producing? Around 22,000 megawatts. How much is the requirement? Around 26,000 megawatts. So the deficit is around 15%. And this drop is being reported across the board. Power from LNG is down 2%, hydroelectric power down 7%, coal-fired power down 10%. The result is this: long and painful power cuts in Pakistan. In the cities, they last for around 10 to 12 hours. In rural areas, 14 to 16 hours every day. And remember when this is happening, in the middle of one of the worst heat waves in recent times. Temperatures in Pakistan have reached 45 degrees Celsius. Imagine that, 15-hour-long power cuts in 45-degree heat. So this energy crunch is not just an economic crisis, it could well be a humanitarian disaster. How did things reach this point? Because Pakistan bet on the wrong partners. One is China, the others are Italy and Qatar. We'll start with China. Under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, Beijing operates power plants in Pakistan, more than a dozen of them. Put together, these plants make up a sizable chunk of Pakistan's output. Now, most of them are shut. Chinese power plants have simply turned off the lights. Why? Because Pakistan has not paid them. Around $1.5 billion are due to be paid. Power bills, $1.5 billion. So the Iron Brother flipped the switch. They plunged Pakistan into darkness. These power payments are a sticking point between Pakistan and the IMF too, the International Monetary Fund. The IMF wants them to be renegotiated. China, as always, is refusing to do so. That's one of the reasons behind this power crisis. Another reason is Pakistan's failed bet on LNG, liquefied natural gas. Pakistan had struck multiple long-term deals with LNG suppliers like Eni in Italy and a few others from Qatar. These companies were supposed to pump LNG into Pakistan. Well, now they're not doing it. Instead, they're selling LNG in more lucrative markets like Europe. So LNG that was meant for Pakistan is now flowing to Europe. Now, I know what you're thinking. Aren't there penalties for that sort of a thing? Yes, there are. Pakistan's penalty for cancellation is around 30%. But the market prices are so high that companies do not care. Even after this penalty, they're making huge profits. Like I said, Pakistan bet on all the wrong people, China, Qatar and Europe. And their citizens are now paying the price for this. Pakistan has been forced to buy LNG at spot prices from the market. They got a shipment last month. Guess how much it cost them? $100 million for one shipment, the highest that Pakistan has ever paid. Now, usually governments try to cushion this blow. They give subsidies to people to make things easier for them. But Pakistan cannot do that either. Because to get an IMF bailout, they must remove all fuel subsidies. So the government of Pakistan is left with piecemeal tactics like asking people to work from home, or restricting the use of air conditioners, or turning off street lights, and now asking Pakistanis to give up their cup of tea. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.